quick weekly report, a different GBC member each week. Okay, now we're going to spin to, because we just have a few minutes. You saw how that one of the projects that Gauranga headed up inspired by Radhanath Maharaj and funded by the devotees in Calcutta, they purchased the Ultadanga. Ultadanga Road is the first, when Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, after finishing, was it 1 billion names? After chanting 1 billion names, sitting there in the Bhajan Kutir in deep meditation, when he finished, he then, inspired and empowered by Mahaprabhu, came to Calcutta to start the Gaudiya Math, his preaching mission, which eventually has 64 temples all over. So they had 2 steamships sailing along the coast of India, pulling in a presentation. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had several railway carts. You picture a train, railway carts. And when they would pull into the major stops, they're stopped there for maybe an hour. They were 2 hours. On the train platform, they would put up all those different displays, like we have our Fate Museum, they would put up all the displays. They'd put up a question and answer booth. They'd distribute prasadam. They put on a whole festival for an hour and a half. Pack the whole thing back, put it back on the train, move to the next city. They had 2 trains moving all over India under the Gaudiya Math. It just gives you a sample. Plus the steamship, one on each side of the coast, pulling into a port, putting on whole festivals. Theistic exposition. They had Ferris wheels for kids to get the family to come. I mean, it was very far out. So the first center, this is Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. This is Ultadanga. This is 1920. September 6th, they opened the first Gaudiya Math Center in Calcutta, suburb of Calcutta. Now, 100 years later, the whole thing is next. This is how it was a few years ago. What is it? Okay, this is completely dilapidated, completely falling apart. You'll see more. This is that same Ultadanga. Click back to the. You see this? See this design work here? Go forward. It's the same building. Next. The roof had caved in. It was completely full of trash. Squatters living on this side. Note this little window. You'll see what they've done to the place. So that was the state when we bought it a few years ago. I think 4 years ago. Took years of negotiation. Next. This is how it looks now. These are the same arches. That's the same place. It's called Bhakti Vinod Asan. That was the sitting place of the seat of Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. Next. This is that you can see how it's been completely restored to its original Bengali style, all the artwork, all the design. It's just like stepping back in time. Govardhan and I took these pictures. What you don't see here is me, and I have no sense of balance. So you've got Govardhan holding me. It's true, isn't it, Govardhan? Govardhan holding me up while I was taking these photos. It's a lot of work went into these. You wouldn't have these without Govardhan. I almost got hit by cars so many times. He'll confirm. Next. So this is the interior. Remember how it looked? Piled full of garbage, no roof. Remember I showed you that little stained glass window? There it is. It is so moving. And you feel like you've just stepped back in time. Next. This is the center courtyard. It's all done traditional Bengali decor. Next. They have rare documents, and there's a photo history. There's a whole history of the Gaudiya Math and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's preaching. It's really moving stuff. Picture of him shaking hands. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was such a respected and powerful figure in India. Shows you how much the Gaudiya Math can happen to us too if we're not careful. How much it's diminished. He invited the governor of West Bengal, was all one state at that time, the governor of Bengal. There was the viceroy, was in Delhi, originally Calcutta, then Delhi. But the viceroy was the top, in charge of all of India, the Queen's direct representative. The second most influential person in India was the governor of Bengal. He invited the governor of Bengal to come out to the Gaudiya Mata, to Gorpranim. He was roundly criticized by the Babajis. Oh, you're bringing this meat eater, this, Malecha out to Mayapur, and you're fouling the whole place, and you're just trying to kiss up to these materialists. They're the same ones that were throwing rocks, when he was doing his pilgrimage, because he was given Brahmin threads to those who weren't born Brahmin, but had come to real Brahmin standard. So, roundly criticized. Now, here's the thing. To get the governor out there, the only way to get to Mayapur from Calcutta, it was basically an ox cart road. Just, rutted dirt road. So no one was coming out to Mayapur. To get the governor from Calcutta out to Mayapur, the British Army engineers renovated the whole road so you could drive a car out there. So after the governor left, he made his little speech, did whatever, they gave him nice prashadam, and off he went. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur confided. He said, the governor was scratch. I just wanted the road. And that's what he got, because he got a beautiful, so that people could come. And that now people could, they were flowing out, pilgrims were coming to Mayapur. So this is Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's. So it's got all the stories and histories and photos of all of that, You've got the governor of West Bengal shaking hands as he's leaving with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in his brand new, whatever it is, roadster to go fly. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta is saying, thank you for coming and happy to have the road. Okay, next. Here's an example. This is an original copy of the Nadia Prakash. I was talking about that daily newspaper. So they've got things like this all framed on the wall, and you can read rare photos. It's really wonderful. Next. There's a garden on the side. You can just see they've got Tulsi Devi there. You can't see it in the photo, but all along here, there's a Bengali style. You make these bas reliefs out of clay, and you carve in them. We've got them at Mayapur too. You can make beautiful scenes, and they tell stories. It's like bas relief means it's 3D. So they've got all these different beautiful designs in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Leela, done in this traditional Bengali style. Okay, next. This is Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's bedroom. So completely restored to how it was when he was there from old photos. Next. So this is in 1922, 2 years after it opened. We all know the scene. This is where Prabhupada, who was it? Mulak, his friend Narendra Mulak said, I've met a saintly person. Prabhupada said, I've seen so many saintly people, and they're all smoking hookahs, and I'm not going, I'm not interested. But his friend forced him. And they went up on the rooftop of Ultadanga temple, and they met Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Here's Prabhupada. There's a painting, of course. Here's Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who immediately said, you're young and you're educated. Why don't you take this Mahaprabhu's philosophy, teach it in English, take it to the West? And Prabhupada was defeated. Prabhupada said it was the first time he was ever defeated in an argument. He said, and it was wonderful. Okay, so there's the scene, right? Next. Here's that same spot, completely renovated. This is the roof. It's the actual historical. This is over here, up here, was Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's bedroom. You saw the photo of it. But there's the spot. Next. Here's a bird's eye view, that meeting that changed the world, launched ISKCON, launched Srila Prabhupada. You have to go to the West and spread Mahaprabhu's mission. And they do seminars, they do retreats, they do all kinds of things on that roof now, in that mystical, magical place. Next. So there's the seat. Okay, next. And these are pratibhu. They're not the original deities of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur that he had here. Those were lost. But these are, exactly the same and then infused with the same mantras. So they're called pratibhu. They're the same Shakti as the original deities. So there are his Shishi Gandharvika Giridhari. They're about this big. Yeah, Govardhan? maybe about this big. Beautiful deities. Okay, next. Now, just for fun, we have a few slides. These are different Prabhupada's pastime places in Calcutta. This is Scottish Churches College. It was established in 1830. It was, at the time, the best school, because Calcutta was called the second city of the British Empire. It was, and outside of London, it was the most influential and powerful city in the far-flung British Empire. And the best school in India was the Scottish Churches College. It was like their Princeton, their Yale, their Harvard. And that's where Prabhupada went to school. So there's the Scottish Churches College. Next. This is one of the inside. Gordon and I, we talked our way in. So they let us in. It wasn't easy, right? The little sannyas power, I heavied them out. So, but this is the entrance, and in this hallway, and all the classrooms are off the side. This is Ergohart. This professor, Prabhupada mentions a number of times in his lectures and talks. This is the one who said, well, who's the witness? How can there be karma? Who's the witness? Prabhupada said, well, the super soul's the witness, the devas are the witness, the 10 directions are the witness. What are you talking about? Who's the witness for karma, you know? So, but Prabhupada also mentions how they were Scottish gentlemen. They were of good moral fiber. Prabhupada appreciated that. Philosophically, this is, Prabhupada learned, he got I don't know whether his major was economics and his minor was chemistry, or vice versa. But he had a major in one, economics, either economics or chemistry, and his minor was in the other. And these are the professors that taught him. They have a nice picture of him. He's a famous guy, big professor. And that was Prabhupada's teacher, who Prabhupada said because he was a student, he didn't argue with his professor, but he said, this is nonsense. They only have one life. Because they were Scottish Churches called. They were, indoctrinating them into Christianity. Next. This is one of the classrooms Prabhupada sat in. It's India. Nothing has changed, in 100 years. I had a clock that belonged to a small, it was one of the original alarm clocks, wind-up alarm clocks. It belonged to my great-grandfather, and he handed it down to his son, and my father when my father passed away. It's a little clock, but it didn't work. It's an antique alarm clock. I took it to different places, different clock shops, some of the best here. And oh, well, it's going to cost you $500, maybe $1,000. We can't get the parts. I don't have that kind of money. I'm not going to waste it also. I thought, wait a minute, where do they keep things going? I took it to India. I took it to Hira Jewelers in India. Everyone knows Hira in Vrindavan. 50 rupees. 50 rupees is less than $1. Things ticking away, no problem. They just, no parts, so they just fabricated them, So nothing has changed. So that's the kind of classroom Prabhupada was sitting in as a student. Okay, next. And this is a program they put on. This says here, Scottish Churches College celebrates the 125th anniversary of its two illustrious alumni. This is a big program they had. Now, one of them was Subhash Chandra Bose. We don't have time to going into it. Gandhi did not free India. And it's all coming out now, from the British Military Museum, from all the different a lot of those things were locked up, for 75 years, 100 years, this and that, They were playing Gandhi like a puppet. The victors write the history. So because Congress Party won, they made the founder of Congress, one of the leaders of Congress Party, Gandhi, he was the big leader of the whole thing. But actually, he was not Subhash Chandra Bose organized the Indian National Army. It's a whole story. He got the Indian... At any given point, there were only 6,000 British administrators in India. Millions of people. It was all administered by Indian bureaucrats, Indian administrators. You had the Brits on the top, 6,000, and you've got, 100 million people in India at that time, at least. Because they that was the whole point of non-cooperation, because if the Indian lawyers, Indian doctors, Indian bureaucrats, and the key to the thing was the Indian army, if the Indian officers did not cooperate, the whole thing collapsed. And Bose, Subhash Chandra Bose, is the one who convinced the Indian army, the British army in India, all Indian soldiers, all Indian sub-officers, a few Brits on top, convinced the Indian officers to quit. It's a whole story. But, so he's actually, and it's coming out more, there's so many books coming out now, they're changing all the history of India. He will be known as the real father of Indian independence. So we're not off on all that stuff. But the point is, he's a big guy, right? And he's considered one of the greatest graduates of Scottish Churches College. Who gets top billing in this 125th anniversary? Subhash Chandra Bose? No. They've got A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada as the one of the top graduates, top 2 graduates in the whole history of Scottish Churches College. So I saw this poster, I thought, I'm taking a snap of this. Okay, next. Now this is Prabhupada's birthplace. Now we've just purchased this within the last year or so. It took forever. But this is the jackfruit tree. It's still growing. It needs some help now, but that's the jackfruit. And this same thing, it was completely abandoned. It was squatters. It was complete. So next, we only purchased 3. It's going to be restored. This is one of the type of houses that Prabhupada was born in. The tradition is the mother, they have a birthing house. You don't take birth whether you live regularly. You have a peaceful place where the mother's very peaceful, and the mother's what do you call them? What do you call it? Midwives, where the midwives are all there to attend. So it'll all be restored, just like that Ottadanga. It'll be restored where Prabhupada's birthplace was. Next. Now this is we were talking about the Narendra Malik, and Prabhupada's, grew up in the Malik compound. You see him, his little Ratha Yatra cart was in the center there. So this is the temple, the Radha Govinda temple. Prabhupada says he used to stand for hours looking at the beautiful deities. When Prabhupada was a boy, this is the temple, the Radha Krishna temple, maintained by the Malik family. This is where Prabhupada used to go. This is their little Garuda in front. This is the Garuda. This is the Darshan Mandap. And the altar is back in here. Next. And these are the deities, Shri Radha Govinda. The Prabhupada would visit daily as a boy and offer prayers. So there it is. So I think we're done. Oh, just for fun. So all of these places launched Prabhupada. This is the flyer Prabhupada made. Prabhupada took this with him, printed it up with that Mr. Sharma in Chandi Chowk, and it says, Srimad Bhagavatam, India's message of peace and goodwill. And here is Prabhupada out in front of 26 2nd Avenue, strolling down New York City. Changed the world. So these are some of the historical places that led to this magnanimous moment of Prabhupada coming to the West. So we can end there. Thank you very much, Prabhus. Hare Krishna. Well, we're a little bit late, but that's all right.